well, there went my deodorant. Anyway. Hey, what's up? I'm Allie and welcome back to my channel. Today's video was prompted because I posted this picture on my Bookstagram this past week and so many people messaged me or commented or have said something within the past few weeks in general on my videos and stuff about wanting to know my annotation process. I don't really know if I can call this annotating because here's the thing, I don't write in books. I don't like that. Disclaimer, I guess, but I don't care what you do with your books that you have bought with your own money. If you want to write in it, you want to rip out the pages, do what you want. I have damaged books. I got nothing against damaging books. I'm not very good at taking care of my books. They're covered in food and debris and things most of the time, so it's not so much of keeping the integrity of the book, it's just I don't like the way writing in books looks to me. Maybe it's my handwriting. I tend to have larger handwriting. So here's the thing though, if I just told you about my annotation process, we would be here for like maybe a minute, and we know I don't do short videos, so we're gonna do more than that today. Let's start back at the beginning. In college, I needed to mark things in order to know, one, what to read, and two, lines that I felt were important, things to discuss in class, things like that. So it all started back then, and I was using tabs to kind of keep track of that. It was pretty hard as an English major to remember what page in what book you were supposed to be on, so for homework that would be one color and then things that I wanted to talk about would be another color. So things progressed from there. It wasn't until more so, I guess within the past year or so, that I've really gotten into tabbing. I had seen other people talk about it, and a lot of people do tend to, they'll tab, but they also write and highlight and underline, and I didn't really want to do that, and also I had never really felt the need before. Here's the thing though, you don't know you need to do it till you start doing it, and then you want to do it to everything. I have a few books I'm going to show you my collection of annotated things, mostly tabs. That's what it is. I just tab books. And I have found that I mostly do this to fantasy books that I really enjoy. So a lot of these are further down in a fantasy series. One, because of when they came out, was after I had started tabbing things, and also because sometimes when I read the first in a book, I'm not too sure if I'm going to like the rest of the series, so I don't really worry about it. And then once I get further into the series, that's when I want to start tracking things. I have found that this is just so much fun. It adds another layer of experience to reading that I felt like I was missing before, and now I want to do it to all the books that I read, essentially. Change how I tab things for every single book that I read. The colors depend mostly on what the cover looks like. I try to match it to that. You will see in my collection though that the colors change depending on if it is a second time reading it or if I have run out of tab. In order to keep track of how the tabbing process works for each book, I tend to put a note in the very front of each book saying what each tab stands for. And again, these tab colors can change depending on the book. It can depend on how many things I'm tracking. Some of these books I have only tracked 2 things. Some of them I am tracking 7 things. So it just depends on what I feel like tracking. There are 3 things that I tend to track in almost every single book. One, if I feel like it is something important. So this is something that I feel like I need to remember or need to know or might need to come back and look at. The second thing is foreshadowing. I don't necessarily consider important and foreshadowing the same thing, because foreshadowing tends to be something that I feel like is going to come back to be something much bigger in the plot, or it's going to go into some sort of plot twist, something along the lines. I think it's got a bigger role. It's not just important, something is going to happen with this thing. Crossover, but in my mind they are 2 very different things. And then the third thing just tends to be things that I like. So if it's something that made me laugh, it's a quote that I like, I will tend to track that. Yeah, and then the other things that I tend to track are OTPs. So if I have a very specific OTP, I might put that as its own separate color, but a lot of times the OTP just stands for any ship that I have within the book and when they interact and when things happen. And then I will also track steamy scenes, romance scenes, because I tend to go back and revisit those the most. They tend to be the best parts. What can I say? I love me a good steamy scene. So sometimes I will mark those totally separate. Now that you have the basic information, let's get into the actual books that I have and the tabbing process and the tabs that I use. How about the tabs that I use? Let's do that first. I haven't really found any particular tab that I just use religiously. I have this little thing on my bookshelf and it does keep tabs in it. I'm pretty low right now, but I'm going to show you some of the different ones that I have gone through. The larger ones, sometimes if I do need to take a note, I will use a larger sticky note and write that in, but it's pretty rare. It's a thing. Most sticky packets just come with some like basic colors, and I don't like that. I like a variety. I want different shades of green and blue and purple. I don't want just the normal ones. I did have these. These are kind of the more basic ones. Just the blue, green, yellow, pink, and orange. I will use those if I have nothing else because they sell these locally, whereas everything else I've had to order or find when it's actually in stock somewhere. I did order these ones. Again, these ones are also just plain paper, so you can write on them. I did like that there was some color variety in this. There was that packet, and it came with a lot of them, so I was pretty excited about that. Again, another one that just had some of the basic colors and then a larger sticky note. This is nice because I tend to just use these as my bookmarks, which, you know, they're a little thick for a bookmark, so they might do some damage, but it is what it is. And then I had recently picked up these. I like these because they're really skinny and they are somewhat transparent, and there was kind of a color variation between these. So these are my most recent ones. I haven't gotten to use these yet. I'm hoping to use these soon, but there's not very many of them, concerning. But I have found that my all-time favorite, and I wish I had a full packet to show you guys, but I don't because I use these all the time and they're rarely ever in stock. I get these from the Dollar Tree and they are the best because they have such a large color variation. I know that you guys can't tell, but normally there's like pink and there's like a burgundy, there's blue, there's all kinds of different variations. There's like a dusty pink as well as a bright pink that comes on these, and I just love these, and there's so many of them. Now granted, these are not necessarily the best quality. The color tends to wear off the edges. Rub the pages of my books when I read them, so the color comes off of these a little bit. It is what it is, but I just love these because there's such variations between them and just so many, and they stick well enough. I do find that they too tend to stick together a little much, and I have to kind of peel them apart a few times and stick extra ones along the sides as I'm reading. It's great because I feel like they're a great bookmark size, so I can slip these in and I don't have to worry about them ruining my book spine too much. So these ones have just been my absolute favorite. They're cheap enough. I do prefer the transparent ones. I have found I don't tend to write notes on top of them, but I just prefer these transparent ones just because I can actually see the text underneath. Let me show you my tabbed book collection. Here it is, my collection of tabbed books. Let me see if I can turn this down a little so you guys can see more of the tabs that are happening. There's a lot. I do believe there might be more on my shelves, but these are the main ones that I found. So, oh, well, there went my deodorant. So, as I said before, most of my series are ones that I have done. So, like Tower Dawn, you will see that these are more along a color scheme that matches the blue of the cover, and then there is a note on the inside. Another Sarah J. Maas one. This is one where I was just using more of the basic colors just because I wasn't too sure, and where I follow a very specific character named Manon, who is my favorite. Here are some what the fuck moments. That happens sometimes. This one is really pleasing, so I only did 4 things here and used blues and reds and purples there. Then we have the whole Cruel Prince series. I am surprised that I tabbed the first one in this, but I think everyone was hyping it enough that I felt like I needed to, so I ended up using, I think these were just leftover colors from a thing. This tends to be a theme that I use a lot. Here, if I have a tab on the very top, tends to mean that it is a scene that I really like. These ones are nice because I did some really nice kind of notes in it. Most recent one to this collection is a Ninth House. So, and I just did 3 things within it. I did important, I like it, in foreshadowing, or no, important foreshadowing, I like it, and what the fuck. So sometimes important and foreshadowing do end up together if I don't think there's going to be much. Here's a contemporary. So contemporaries aren't left out of this. I do them occasionally. However, most of the time I do these on ebooks, so I highlight them instead. But if you see these just tend to be romance scenes that I really liked. Here is one, Serpent and Dove. This one I didn't put a note in, so I don't know what they're for. It's pretty easy once I'll just go in and read a few lines and figure out what they're for. This one's kind of hard to see, but this is Girls of Paper and Fire. My Arc of Dark Dawn. Now I have a cover over this, but this is just the normal arc, and I've just put this cover on. And then I have some notes in there. This is another one I forgot to mark, but it's okay. Here is the Red Rising series. So I mostly did the Red Rising series because Amanda loved it and raved about it, and she sent me these, and she sent tabs with them. So not only do they have the tabs on the side, which again, there is a note. I did write on these to say what I thought they were for. And then Amanda's notes are also in here as well, so I just left those in there as well. So I left her notes. And then Golden Sun, which again follows kind of a similar color scheme. I will get into my 2 most tabbed books. Now, A Court of Thorns and Roses I did on a second reread. And the thing is with this is that I just was using colors that I went and bought a whole brand new set. And because they're the only ones that are ever in stock at my local store, I just used a brand new set and got a bunch of them in order to use. So these are more of the traditional colors that I wouldn't normally like. It is quite easily my most tabbed book of all time. Just take a look at how many tabs this sucker has. You will see that there is a color scheme at the beginning. And there is not at the end, and that is because this book, I ran out of tabs twice while reading this book. So I was going to go back and redo the colors, but it was just too much work at that point. There's just so many. Then on top of that, this got a second reread, and I went through and put different ones through the second reread. So I only have a note in here for the first read, and it doesn't say what I swapped out the colors for, things like that. Here you can see how the color kind of comes off on some of those ones. But yeah, a lot of these pages in here have more than one. They have multiples happening on here because I love this book so darn much. Look, I'm not even using the same kind of tabs anymore. So this one is one that I definitely, on a third reread, will probably go through and rematch all the colors. So, but yeah, I'm not going to do that until I do another reread. So I know someone is going to ask how I like these in here. You'll see I am very particular about how far the tabs actually stick out. I don't like them to stick out if you can put the book in front of you. I don't want them to stick out over the edge. So I'm pretty weird about that, and sometimes it will take me 5 tries to put the tab exactly how I want it. I kid you not. Let me know if you guys have any tabbing rules or annotation rules that you guys follow for yourselves, how that works for you. So let me know down below what you got, what's going on. So hope you guys have liked this video. Don't forget to subscribe to see future videos from me. Thanks for chilling. See you next time. Bye.